Hey everyone, and a huge welcome to Prime Stream. I'm your host, and this explainer is brought to you by the Independent Intelligence Alliance. Today, we're unpacking something that literally affects every single one of us, no matter where you live on the globe. We're looking straight at the World Meteorological Organization's urgent red alert regarding the impending 2026 El Nino. Honestly, if you've been checking the weather lately and wondering whether you need to pack a winter parka or a swimsuit for a typical Tuesday, you are absolutely not imagining things. Our climate feels increasingly fractured, unpredictable, and frankly kind of broken. So today, we're going to look at the hard data, decode the actual science behind this volatility, and understand exactly what is hurtling toward us in the next few years. Let's get started.
All right, let's dive into Section 1, the atmospheric whiplash.
Now, we've all heard about extreme weather, right? But what we're seeing right now is a level of bizarre, polarized weather extremes that almost defies logical explanation. This is what atmospheric whiplash looks like in real time. Picture this. In central Italy, Rome recently battled a fierce tornado that was literally ripping trees out of the ground, sending them crashing into buildings and completely crushing cars. Just a violent, destructive scene. But get this, just 430 kilometers away, which is a really short distance as the crow flies, Sicily was experiencing an entirely different reality. It was sweltering in 33 degrees Celsius heat. The temperatures were so intensely stifling, the tourists were flocking to Mandello Beach just trying to find a breath of air. Actually, one British tourist standing in the Sicilian sun told reporters, "We're in London at the moment, it's raining in 15 degrees, it's a different world here." And that right there hits the nail on the head. This sense of living in a different world within the exact same region, it's no longer just a localized fluke. It is the undeniable signature of a global climate system in serious distress. Which brings us to Section 2, Summer Breaks, the Rules. We're all pretty used to the comfort of the calendar, aren't we? We know when winter ends, when spring begins, and when summer traditionally shows up. But the alarming reality detailed in our source data is that these old seasonal boundaries are just collapsing entirely, and the results are proving lethal. Consider the staggering number right here from Spain, 101. That is the number of heat-related deaths recorded in Spain in the month of May alone. Let's just contextualize that for a second. May is traditionally a moderate, pleasant spring month. Yet this figure is the highest since records began in 2015, and it's literally 3 times the average for the last decade. It shows us in really stark terms that the mercury is rising way faster than our current infrastructure and our own human bodies can adapt. And this brilliantly illustrates how the collapse of our seasons is a truly global phenomenon. It's definitely not just Spain. Over in Britain and France, long-standing temperature records for May have been absolutely shattered. Meanwhile, in East Asia, countries like China, Japan, and South Korea have been trapped in this suffocating unseasonal heat since as early as April. And in India, several regions crossed the extreme and highly dangerous 45 degrees Celsius threshold long before the height of summer. So the major takeaway here? Seasonal averages are becoming obsolete. When summer conditions force their way into April or May, public health systems and energy grids globally are caught completely off guard. The old rules of the calendar just do not apply anymore. So why is this happening? Let's unpack that in Section 3, the ENSO seesaw explained. To diagnose the root cause behind all this global chaos, we have to look deeply at our oceans. I want you to think of the massive natural ocean temperature cycle, known as ENSO, which stands for the El Niño Southern Oscillation, as a giant planetary seesaw. Understanding this mechanic is absolutely crucial to understanding our immediate future. On one end of the seesaw, we have El Niño. This is the warm phase of the cycle. During an El Niño event, the surface waters of the Pacific Ocean, near the equator, heat up significantly. And this massive release of thermal energy alters global wind patterns and effectively acts like an engine, driving up the average temperature of the entire planet. Now, on the opposite end of that seesaw, we have La Niña. This is the cool phase. During La Niña, that exact same equatorial region of the Pacific Ocean cools down below average. Historically, La Niña often provides the globe with a temporary, slight reprieve from those rising temperatures. So together, these two alternating phases, the warming and the cooling, make up the natural rhythm of the ENSO seesaws. But, here is where the plot twists. The 2023 to 2024 El Niño cycle already helped crown 2024 as the hottest year on human record. But because of our global reliance on fossil fuels and the resulting accumulation of greenhouse gases, the planet is already running a fever. So we're basically looking at a natural cycle on steroids right now. What this means is that each new El Niño event no longer starts from a neutral starting line. It begins from a significantly higher baseline of heat than the one before it.
The natural cycle is still intact, sure, but it is now producing wildly unnatural and amplified results. Which leads us directly into Section 4, 2026, Fuel on the Fire.
The World Meteorological Organization has confirmed that a vast, deep reservoir of heat is building up right now in the tropical Pacific. The ocean surface is warming, and it's preparing to profoundly disrupt global weather patterns in the very near future. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer certainty of the forecast. We are not talking about some vague possibility here. The data from the WMO suggests a temperature spike in 2026 is almost inevitable. Experts calculate an 80% probability of El Niño emerging between June and August of 2026. And as the year goes on, that likelihood surges to a massive 90% certainty. A 90% probability in meteorological forecasting is a blaring siren, folks.
I think the gravity of this 90% certainty is perhaps best summarized by this powerful warning from United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. He stated, "The science is clear. El Niño is arriving on our doorstep. El Niño conditions will pour fuel on the fire of a warming world. Impacts will hit even harder, travel even further, and cross borders with devastating speed. This isn't just rhetoric. It is a clear-eyed assessment that this impending heat will completely ignore national borders and absolutely accelerate the disruptions we are already experiencing." So what does this actually mean for us on the ground? Let's check out Section 5, the invisible ripple effects.
These disruptions go way, way beyond just needing to crank up the air conditioning a few extra notches. We are talking about a systemic risk here. El Niño acts as a stress multiplier that destabilizes the fundamental pillars of modern civilization: our food, our water, and our health. Let's walk through the cascading consequences across our most vulnerable sectors. First up, the monsoon threat. Over in India, the Meteorological Department is forecasting a 60% chance of a deficient monsoon for 2026, bringing only 90% of their average rainfall. That directly threatens agriculture for over 1 billion people. Next, let's look at the price of plates. Global food prices are already highly inflated by geopolitical conflicts. Add to that the El Niño-driven droughts projected to hit major agricultural hubs in Australia, Indonesia, and South Asia. We are looking at severe food inflation. Then there's the health crisis. Shifting rainfall creates a literal perfect storm for vector-borne diseases, expanding the habitable territories for mosquitoes and ticks that carry illness into previously unaffected populations. And finally, infrastructure. Extreme heat causes a massive surge in global air conditioning demand. At the exact same time, shifting precipitation lowers the water levels in rivers and reservoirs that are desperately required for drinking supplies and for cooling power generation plants. It is a compounding crisis across the board.
So, how do we navigate this? That brings us to Section 6, Surviving the New Normal. How do we face down a forecast with a 90% certainty of disruption? Well, the World Meteorological Organization's Red Alert isn't just meant to be a grim forecast. It's intentionally designed as a catalyst for action. The source outlines a really clear two-step mandate for survival. Step 1, we absolutely must execute a fundamental, aggressive shift away from the fossil fuels that are raising our global baseline temperature, and pivot decisively toward renewable energy sources. But, carbon reduction is only a long-term fix. Because the volatility is already locked in for 2026, we urgently need Step 2, the implementation of universal early warning systems. As the weather gets more violent and unpredictable, having robust global early warning networks is absolutely the only way to preemptively protect vulnerable populations from the sudden hurricanes, flash floods, and severe droughts that this El Niño will inevitably trigger. As the global thermostat forcefully resets to a new, highly unpredictable normal, I really want to leave you with this provocative final thought. Are our local communities, our power grids, and our food systems actually ready for a world that simply no longer follows the old rules of the seasons? It is a question every single local leader, and really every citizen, needs to be asking themselves right now. Thank you so much for joining me today for this explainer. Knowledge really is our best defense against uncertainty. Please make sure to explicitly share this show with your friends, your family, and your networks to spread the awareness. And definitely be sure to follow PrimeStream so you never miss these essential briefings from the Independent Intelligence Alliance. Stay informed, stay prepared, and I will see you in the next explainer.